Do I have a movie review for you? Of course not, because I'm lazy when it comes to that. But what I do have for you is this awesome new thing that I just thought up, and I figured I would do this one first because it would be pretty awesome to do it. So without further ado, the intro, please.
It's time for the Movie Maniac's Top 15 Zombie Movies.
Now, before I get started, I will make a point that I have all these pulled up over here to the screen off to the side. So occasionally I will glance over, mostly at the beginning because I'm going to cut it with transitions of numbers. So I would start off with my honorable mentions to this video. These are movies that did not make the top 15, and some of them have a reason for not being on the list at all because they're not technically zombie movies, though people would fuss at me saying that they could be zombie movies or they could not be zombie movies. Some of them I do not view as zombie movies, and that's why they're not top 15. However, they are worth checking out, most definitely worth checking out, and worth watching if you're a fan of zombie movies. So those honorable mentions would be 28 Days Later. Now, 28 Days Later is arguably not a zombie movie because the people are not zombies, they are infected. And if you watch the special features on the DVD, there is an alternate ending where they cure the girl's father who becomes infected. So it's not like it's irreversible. You can cure the infected. It's just hard to do. It's you have to transfuse blood, and that person becomes infected anyway. So somebody's gonna die, but they can be cured. It's not like a zombie where once you're bit, you're dead and you're a zombie, and there's nothing that's gonna cure you but a bullet to the head. So with that being said, we also have in the honorable mentions Dawn of the Dead from 2004. Now, it's a good movie. I'll admit that. It's not a bad remake, and look at it this way. Would you prefer them do it scene by scene and try and recreate the original, or completely go off the hook and throw a curveball at something we didn't expect to see at all? That's how I look at it, because I'm glad they do the curveball thing, because you cannot recreate the original. There's no way it can be done. So they just took it in a whole new direction, and the zombies are fresh, they're running, they're screaming, it's a whole new concept. It took it in a whole new direction, and for that, it deserves an honorable mention, but it's not top 15 in my list. One to check out if you're into zombie movies, though, of course. Next, we have The Crazies, 2010. Some people would argue it's zombie, some not. I would argue that it is a zombie movie because once she became infected with codename Trixie, you died and became a zombie pretty much. Just didn't eat people, but that's the only thing that's really not the zombie thing. They don't really eat the people, but they are living, walking, undead people. They're just insane, living, undead, walking people. But there's not really a lot to say about that. If you like zombie movies, check that out. Pandemic movies, all that kind of stuff. Definitely check that one out. And next we have Land of the Dead. Didn't make top 15. Definitely honorable mention. Was the first giant, large-scale George Romero movie that really had a studio backing as far as budget and stuff goes. It delivered on what it set out to do, I believe, but just it's not just like one of the best zombie movies I've ever seen in my life. It's not that by any stretch, but it is a really great movie in itself and should be watched if you like zombie movies, you like George Romero. If you like any of that kind of stuff, you definitely check that one out. I'm not going to say it's an honorable mention, but the other ones after that, Survival of the Dead and Diary of the Dead, you don't have to watch those. I'm not going to put a gun to your head. You don't have to watch them. And last honorable mention is, surprisingly, Lucio Fulci's Zombie. Now, you would be surprised because, as you know, as the Movie Maniac, I have done a review of that movie, and you can go back and check that review out if you would like to. Link is in the description. If it's a great movie. It's a good cult classic, and it's in its own right, and it's pretty gory, and it's just, I don't know. I just didn't feel like the movies that are in my top 15, I felt could beat it out in top 15 spot. I mean, it might be top 20 maybe, top 25, somewhere around there. But it just barely eked out in top 15, so I just blurted it out. But decided as an honorable mention because you should watch it and give it a chance, because just alone to see zombie versus shark. I mean, there's an excellent scene in that, and this is the 70s too. This wasn't exactly like high budget CGI zombie fighting a shark. No, this was a guy in a zombie costume underwater with no rebreather apparatus during filming. I mean, I'm sure when they cut, they give him oxygen, of course. But and actually, like, grabbing onto a shark, and they made it look like he bit the shark and, like, pulled flesh out and stuff. It was a really cool scene in and of itself and worth watching just to see that. But with that being said, let's get this show on the road with number 15.
Number 15.
Alrighty, number 15. I'm going with Cemetery Man, a.k.a. Della Morte dell'Amore. It is an Italian film starring Rupert Everett as a cemetery caretaker who has to occasionally kill people that come back to life. That's all it is. Like, he works in a cemetery, and he says occasionally people just don't stay dead. They come out of the grave for no reason at all, so he has to just put them back. And he doesn't tell anybody about this because, quote, the paperwork would be enormous. So, I don't blame the guy. A lot of paperwork, fill out, dead people come back to life. He just chooses not to say anything about it. Just kills them, buries them again. Nobody knows anything. Now, it's a fantastic movie from the beginning to the middle, and then it starts to lose a little bit of its steam in the third half. That's what makes it top 15, not top 10. But that third bit of it, it just kind of starts losing where it's going, doesn't know what it's going to do next, and so yeah. But it is a fantastic movie and definitely worth watching.
Number 14.
Alrighty, number 14, Night of the Living Dead, 1968. Whoa, blasphemy! It's so high up on the list. It should not be this high. It should be top 10, top 5, should be number 1. I don't care. I personally view it as it's a little overrated. Honestly, don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. It started the zombie It started the people eating people zombies. It wasn't the hypnotizing zombies Bela Lugosi movies anymore. It was full on Living Dead people come back from the grave to do one thing only, and that is eat living flesh. But that being said, there are better zombie movies that have taken that concept and ran with it. And that's all I want to say about that. Just all I want to say.
Number 13.
Alrighty, number 13. Gonna go with Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror, which was part 1 of 2 of the Grindhouse feature that came out. That was a 2-part movie thing at theaters. I personally didn't get to see that in theaters, but I wish I could have, but I didn't. So maybe someday they'll go ahead and make another Grindhouse feature. That would be pretty cool out of those fake trailers, like they did with Machete. That was a fake trailer in this Grindhouse feature. Oh, gotta get comfortable. So, it is about a chemical that basically just turns people into zombies. If you have, let's see, if you take enough of it, like if you have a constant, I don't know, a constant, I can't think of the word, but if you have it constantly pumping through your body, you won't become a zombie. But you need that chemical, or else you will become a dead person with ugly boils and stuff all over your face, and then you'll want to eat people. And it's a really cool movie. I mean, it just has a lot of fun with it, and that's basically all the point is just to have fun. And it's a great, fun movie with lots of blood, lots of gore, lots of grindhouse stuff in it. So if you're into that sort of thing, then definitely check that one out.
Number 12.
Alrighty, number 12, Fido. Little known movie, and it should be well known movie. I discovered this in a Fangoria magazine years ago when it first came out. And I got the chance to watch it when I saw it on Instant Netflix, which it's back on there right now. It just got recently added back onto Instant Netflix. So if you have Netflix instant streaming, check this one out immediately, because you won't hurt yourself at all. It's a really fun, funny, and gory movie, and it's almost like it's a 1950s movie, as in like everything's all boy gee willikers, only there's zombies everywhere. It's like the zombies took over, and then we won. And they took the zombies and they turned them into these butler-type characters that do all the house chores and stuff like that. And then America has reformed to this 1950s society where everything is perfect. Because, it crumbled. We didn't know what to go back to. So we go to the 1950s. And it's a really fun movie. That's all I'm going to say. It's really great fun. There's laughs, there's blood, there's zombies killing people, and it's just, all in all, great movie. Check it out, definitely.
Number 11.
Alrighty, number 11, Dead Snow. Another one that I found out during Fangoria magazine, which I got the chance to watch in school during the anime club meeting. I don't much care for anime, but the anime club, however, was very fun. Excuse me. It is about a group of 20-something-year-olds, college students. It's all in Norwegian, I believe. Norwegian, I think, it's either Norwegian or Swedish, one or the other. Pretty sure it's Norwegian though. But I said "but" again. Dang it. They go on this skiing vacation, and while one of them is out on his snowmobile, he finds this cave it's got like this chest in it, and he opens the chest, and there's all these gold coins and stuff. Now, it turns out that these gold coins belong to a group of Nazis from World War II who stole all this gold and stuff, and then went renegade AWOL off into the mountains and stuff, and hid out and died, basically. But they don't stay dead. If you get my drift, they come to protect that gold to whoever goes to steal it from them. And so then from that point on, it just becomes this incredible gore fest of Nazi zombies, not just any zombies, Nazi zombies, killing all these people off. And then near the end of the movie is amazing. They take a stand against the Nazis with all this stuff. They have chainsaws and chain guns from the Nazis and all that. It's just amazing battle scene at the end of the movie with a twist ending at the end there. So it's something definitely worth checking out.
Number 10.
Alrighty, number 10 slot goes to Zombieland. Not a lot to say about this. If you've heard, I'm sure you haven't heard much of anything bad, if anything bad at all, about this movie. It's completely, from that point, zombie movies weren't exactly, full scale, giant budget, comedy, horror movies. They weren't really that much. And then Zombieland comes around and just pushed all that out of the water and said, yes, we can be if we want to be. And it's a funny cast, funny script, clever script with some horror in there. And it's just all around fun. And there's a cameo by Bill Murray. So what more could you ask for, really? Definitely check this one out. Now we're getting in top 10 territory. These are the movies that you have to see. You have to. Alright, if you call yourself a zombie fan, you have to see these movies. Or else I will excuse you as a zombie fan. You're not one until you see these top 10 movies. That being said, Zombieland, if you haven't seen it, go see it. If you have seen it, well, you already know why I'm bragging on it.
Number 9.
Alrighty, number 9 goes to Shockwaves. This movie is under the radar of so many people. And it was under the radar of me for just as long as it was for everybody else, that I'm sure who hasn't seen it. It was a random movie that I just found out about and honestly didn't seem that intriguing to me. But, however, after watching it, it was a really, really well done, amazing cult classic movie, and it is a must-see among zombie fans and Nazi zombie fans. This one is about a group of Nazi zombies on an island, basically, and they just kill these people. And there's a Nazi scientist there. It's been such a long time since I've seen it. I really need to watch it again because I only saw it once. I would love to get it from Netflix again to burn it. Wink, nudge. No, I would never do that. Never, ever.
Number 8.
Alrighty, number 8 goes to Slither. Now, Slither is a pretty awesome movie starring Nathan Fillion as a local sheriff of a town where a meteorite comes crashing down to Earth and it holds this little alien life form inside of it that shoots a needle into Michael Rooker, who was in The Walking Dead, and it gets inside of his brain, makes him an alien, which can impregnate humans to become these giant water balloon shapes, like gigantic, like the size of a barn water balloon, and they explode, and all these worms go everywhere. And what the worms do is they go into people's mouths, and then they get in their brain and turn them into zombies. And they do turn them into mindless zombies because these people eat other people. And the whole point of a zombie is to infect as many as you can, make more zombies, eat, make more zombies. So that's what these alien zombies do, is they eat, infect people, make more zombies, and eat. So they're zombies in my book, so it's a must-see movie, definitely. And it's got Nathan Fillion in there as main character, so you gotta see it.
Number 7.
Alrighty, number 7, Night of the Living Dead, 1990. More blasphemy! The one from 1990 came ahead of 1968. Look, I don't care. Look, I grew up with this one, and it's just that certain nostalgia feeling. It's just that nostalgic feeling for me. It's just... I hate to say that it's the better movie. I do hate to say that. That's just my opinion on it. I just like the fresh new take on it, even though it's, like I said, I don't like scene-for-scene remakes, but this one does well. It just does well. I like Tony Todd's character portrayal of Ben. I just like it. That's all I can really say about that. It's my opinion, and that's just the way I feel about it. And I'm not pushing you to feel the same way about it. It's just the way I feel about it. So it's the top 7, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't see the 1968 version. I'm just saying that this one you shouldn't exactly skip out on either.
Number 6.
Number 6 goes to Night of the Creeps. Now, Night of the Creeps is... I'm not going to say it's like Slither, because Slither is like Night of the Creeps, because Night of the Creeps came first in the 80s. It starts off in the 50s when a meteorite crashes, sounds familiar, and this little worm thing is inside of it, and this guy in a car with a date goes over to check it out. The worm shoots in his mouth. Fast forward from the 50s to the 80s, and these two guys in college, they're just kind of like these dorky, kind of nerdy dudes, and they have to pull off this prank to join a fraternity. And the prank is to steal a cadaver. So they go looking for a cadaver in what they think is the morgue. It's really a cryogenics lab under the school. And they wind up releasing the dead guy from the 50s who has the worm thing in his brain. And it turns out that made him a zombie, but nobody knew that because he was frozen the whole time. So he's become this zombie thing, and then all these slug things start... I don't want to say they're slugs. They look kind of like gigantic slugs. They're like this big. About that big. Bigger than a Twinkie, but about that big. And they move incredibly fast. So they're not like slugs. They move really fast. And they just shoot into your mouth and they make you a zombie pretty much. You don't know what you're doing, and you just want to grab somebody by the face and then spit slugs into their mouth and turn them into zombies, and then just... That's how they reproduce and all that kind of stuff. And the only way to kill them is to shoot them in the head, so that's another zombie thing. Really awesome movie. Lots of 80s stuff in there, and it's really fun and it's really awesome, and you just have an amazing time with it. You have a really great time with it. You don't hate yourself for watching it. It's not one of those kind of 80s movies. It's a really genuinely great 80s movie, and it's just one you should check out, definitely.
Number 5.
Alrighty, getting into top 5 territory, and number 5 goes to Day of the Dead. George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. I love this one. Honestly, I grew up watching it on VHS tape, and recently got it on Blu-ray, I think, somewhere. Maybe, no, I got it on DVD. I want to get it on Blu-ray. I want to get all of the classic George Romero's on Blu-ray. What to say about this one? It is about a group of military personnel, both scientists and actual fighting army military, who are in an underground bunker. This is well after Dawn of the Dead. The zombies have completely taken over. There's barely any life left, and you can tell that from the beginning of this movie when they apparently go out on these missions to search for people who are still alive, and they've gone all up and down the coast of Florida, and they haven't found anybody alive. All they found is hundreds of thousands of zombies. So they have no choice but to just experiment on the zombies, see what they can do with them. Who really steals the show in this is Bub the zombie. He's an iconic character in all of zombiedom, and he's just synonymous with zombies. So he really steals the show in that one. Him and Captain Rhodes. Definitely Captain Rhodes, the jerk of the movie who just goes power crazy. As soon as he's in charge, pretty much, you know he's going to be a jerk and he's going to do some stuff that you're not going to like him for. And he does. He kills random people in there, and then at the end of the movie he gets his comeuppance from Bub, nonetheless. Bub actually gets him. And it's a really fun movie, and it's really great. That's not a spoiler. You're going to see that coming. So, yeah, check that one out, definitely. That's top 5. These are the absolute must-see movies, top 5. So, Day of the Dead starting with that one, top 5 must-see.
Number 4.
Alrighty, number 4 comes with Shaking It Up, Shaun of the Dead. Throwing in a little comedy, romantic comedy in there with zombies and stuff. I mean, what can be said about this movie that hasn't already been said? It's an awesome movie, funny, scary at some parts. Well, I mean, to some people, not to me, who's pretty much immune to being scared by zombie movies, but you got comedy in there, you got zombies and stuff. You just got all this great combination, and it's British humor. And Simon Pegg is amazing, and Nick Frost is awesome in this, and all the supporting cast is great. I mean, it's just an absolutely fun time, and I find it hard to find people who actually dislike this movie. And if you do dislike this movie, I'd like to know why you dislike this movie. I mean, I don't really see a lot to dislike about it. There are some plot holes, but if you watch the Shaun of the Dead special features on the DVD, you can see all the plot holes filled in a special features comic book style, which is pretty awesome. You don't really notice the plot holes until they point them out, actually, in the special features. But then you go like, oh, okay, well, I see there. But now that you point it out, it's not really pointless. It's pointless to even gripe about it because I didn't notice it until you pointed it out. But I'll digress. Shaun of the Dead, because it's in the top 5. It's an absolute must-see if you haven't seen it yet.
Number 3.
Number 3 spot goes to Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. Not his first movie, but definitely one of his first movies. This one is about a guy who has an overprotective mother. His mother's a really gripey, naggy woman. She's really old. Well, she's not really old, but she's an old, naggy woman, and he's kind of like he's a mama's boy pretty much. So he doesn't want to disobey her, and then she just always milking him for chores and, yo, you don't love me, you hate me because you do this and that and this and that. And that's a terrible impression of his mother, but you get the idea. So he falls in love with this girl, and his mother hates it immediately because she doesn't want another woman in her life. So then, he's on the date with her at the zoo, and this rare rat monkey thing bites his mother on the hand. Then she slowly becomes this zombie who starts infecting everybody else who happens to come in the house and get too close to his mother. And then he thinks, like, by the time he's got like 6 zombies or so, he decides to put them down, and then he just kills them with his poison stuff in the basement. But lo and behold, his mean uncle, who found out about his secret, wants to throw a house party, and or else if he doesn't, he's going to tell everybody about his dead mother in the basement. So he decides to let him do it. Then it turns out the poison that he used was animal hormones or something like that, and so it makes the zombies that are in the basement incredibly angry and aggressive, and then they burst out of the basement and they start infecting everybody at the party. It becomes an every man for himself sort of battle to try and kill these zombies, and then all leading up to this epic ending with a lawnmower and a whole bunch of disembodied zombies. That's all I'm going to go into, and this is one of the bloodiest movies ever made, so if you're not really into that sort of thing, then don't check this one out. But if you are and can stand the squeamishness, then it is an absolute must-see because it's number 3 in this top 15 list.
Number 2.
Number 2 spot goes to Return of the Living Dead. This one pokes fun at the zombie genre while being its own zombie movie, while being awesome, while being cool, while being scary, and while being funny. It is barely beat out by another movie, which I'm going to get to in a second. This one is about 2 guys who are working in a scientific sort of thing where they have, you know, like stuff for science classes at universities and high schools and stuff. It's a warehouse for that kind of thing. They have a dead body, a cadaver there, and they have a barrel. They have a bunch of barrels down in the basement, marked U.S. military on the side with a number, full of what is apparently called a chemical called trioxin. Now, trioxin is sort of it's a liquid and a gas. When compressed, it can be a gas when it explodes, but it can also be injected as a liquid. Anyway, these barrels are filled with trioxin, and the trioxin brings dead tissue back to life. And what that means is that anything that's dead, once it's injected with trioxin, will become a zombie. And it was invented by the military, as we found out later in the series, as a sort of a super weapon thing because, you know, the zombie can't be killed. And these zombies can't be killed. Because they find that out, they're actually like, well, let's do what they do in the movies, you know, we'll pin him down, we'll hit him in the brain with this pickaxe, and they do that, and all it does is just pin him to the floor. And so they're like, it didn't work, it worked in the movie, the movie's lying! And they're like, they don't know what to do, so then they chop the zombie up into little parts or so, and then they burn it in the crematorium next door. And they burn it so much that even the ashes are burnt so that zombie is gone. However, smoke rises full of trioxin into the atmosphere, which is creating a thunderstorm, rains down on a cemetery, zombies coming up everywhere. Then you got the zombie pandemic. And then you got all these zombies running around town, eating people, and then the military just nukes them. So, and it's really... This one is epitome of must-see zombie movie, and it would be in the number 1 spot if the number 1 movie that I'm going to show in a minute isn't worth that spot. But this one is just incredible. It's comedic, it's horror, and it's gore, and it's 80s, and it's just all this amazing stuff rolled up into one ball and thrown at you on the screen in an hour and a half. And you'll have an amazingly fun time the entire hour and a half. You will not. There's never a dull moment. Always fun. Always great. Always worth watching. Not Return of the Living Dead. Always worth it. Return of the Living Dead. Now the sequels, stop at 3. If you're gonna watch the sequels, don't watch 4 and 5. They're not worth it at all. 2 is pretty much worth it. Still got that 80s kind of feel to it, and it's really funny to see they actually have the same actors playing different characters. And I thought that was pretty amusing and funny. But anyway, in the number 3 takes a more serious approach to it, actually. That's where they reveal the trioxin as the military weapon, and they reveal all the secrets pretty much. Because in the first 2 movies, you just know it's called trioxin, and you know it brings dead people back to life. You don't know what for, you don't know why. Part 3 explains a lot of that. But if you're going to watch any of them, definitely 1. I'm not forcing you to watch the other ones. That's of your own volition, just like it was of my own volition. Part 1 is the must-see. Definitely, epically, must-see this movie. Alrighty, number 1. What spot could it go? Well, of course, Dawn of the Dead from the 1970s. You can't go wrong with that one. It's the classic. It's the zombie movie of all time. The best, the greatest. It's the tops. Nothing can beat it. Nothing can, nothing will, nothing ever has, and nothing ever will. It is the best of the best of the best zombie movies. Definitely. No argument. No, anything you say is invalid because Dawn of the Dead is the greatest zombie movie of all time and always will be. I stand strong on that matter of the fact. It is about taking place pretty much the day after, I think, or so. No, not quite the day after. I would say maybe a week after Night of the Living Dead. And it is these 4 people take refuge in a helicopter, pretty much just fly off, and they find this shopping mall, an indoor shopping mall, and decide to take refuge in that, and they do. Unlike the remake, this one is overrun with zombies. There are a ton of them everywhere, and they have to find ways to kind of sneak around them, or be quiet, or distract them to go one way, so they can sneak around and go the other way. And it all proves that a utopia will never last. As we all know, all utopias fall, just as this one does in the movie. And to an amazing ending, to a fantastic movie. And this is the number 1 must-see. If you're ever going to watch any zombie movie, let it be this one. Definitely. Because it is just all well worth it. And a great unfolding of character development. It's not all about the zombies. You got character development in there. You got political stances in there as well. You got some social issues thrown in there. It's an amazing movie on so many other levels, and every time you watch it, you find yourself loving it even more. You can't hate this movie. If you hate this movie, I don't ever want to talk to you again, honestly, because you just can't hate this movie. I won't allow it. So, with that being said, definitely number 1 must-see zombie movie. If you're ever going to watch a zombie movie, let it be Dawn of the Dead, the original, of course. Let it be that one. And that is the top 15 zombie movies that I have on my list. Someone at the door, hang on a second. Hello? I can't even fathom the fact that I got my hands on some trioxin. So what's the big deal about that? Don't you see what this can do? This is the missing ingredient. The missing ingredient? In what? The missing ingredient in a little show that was canceled prematurely a little while back. You can't be. You don't mean the show. The same one. I think we're going to have to pay a dear old friend a visit very soon.